Have you ever wished you had the ability to instantly understand another person's character? Pause for a moment and consider all the ways in which this skill could propel you to greater heights. Body language and vocal intonation account for the vast majority of nonverbal cues in human communication, with words accounting for just 7% of total transmission. Understanding nonverbal cues like posture and expression goes a long way, but that's not even close to what we're going to cover now. Just picture yourself being able to learn a person's genuine personality and traits after just meeting them. Let's begin with something that's as easy as pie, but packs a punch. You can learn a lot about a person's true nature just by asking them a single question. On the other hand, you can utilize this information to examine your own personality and discover what it says about you. In order to find out, we need to look at a test that a famous psychologist ran. One easy item that students were given to do on the test was to rate the personalities of multiple people they knew. The old adage goes something like, "It says more about them than it does about you," when one person says hurtful things about another, whether online or in person. Students were more likely to exhibit personality traits consistent with their friend ratings after they had evaluated multiple acquaintances, according to the study. As an example, a student's likelihood of displaying positive personality traits increased if they perceived that most of their peers exhibited similar qualities. For kids who felt the majority of their friends were negative or manipulative, the result was the same. The study concluded that a predisposition toward pessimism is associated with an increased risk of developing a number of personality disorders. Simply ask, "What do you think of other people?" Or, even better, listen carefully to how they describe the people in their immediate vicinity, whether they are friends, family, or total strangers, to get a sense of the likelihood that they will exhibit a particular personality trait. Now that we know how to quickly and easily assess someone's personality, let's explore intuition even further. You can learn to discern people's personalities via their intuition rather than their words or body language if you put in the time and effort. Intuition is a feeling that arises from within rather than from rational thought. Some could call it gut feelings or intuition, but either way, it's nonverbal information that you detect without logic. Using your intuition to read people lets you look past surface-level cues and into their character. There are 3 considerations that should guide your intuition practice. Listen to your intuition, particularly on a first impression. An instinct is an innate reaction that arises when your body processes information faster than your rational brain. It will serve as your personal trust gauge. See it as your internal truth meter. Secondly, pay attention if you feel a chill. These are the subtle tingles in your skin that indicate when someone is touching you emotionally. Also, when someone says something that really hits close to home, it can make you feel cold. Finally, since they come suddenly and without notice, paying close attention to flashes of insight is a great method to hone your intuition. Your intuition was at work the last time you had that aha moment in discussion when you felt like you truly understood someone's character. If you aren't attentive, these sudden epiphanies could be drowned out by background noise. When discussing a person's genuine character, the old adage that the eyes are the windows into the soul holds a great deal of validity. One may tell a person's mood whether furious, mean, serene, or attractive just by looking into their eyes. Just as the rest of the body emits intense electromagnetic energy, so do people's guarded or hidden expressions. Looking into someone's eyes is a great way to tap into their intuition and understand their response. Now that you know how to discern people's personalities using intuition and a simple query, let's examine some alternative methods. Just by seeing how someone answers a question, you may tell if they are more extroverted or introverted. People with more outgoing personalities tend to think aloud and reply quickly when you ask them a question. Someone likely has an introverted personality type if they take a couple of seconds to reply after you ask them a question. Your social relationships will improve if you grasp this concept. Always allow the introvert ample time to react after you speak, especially if you're the more extroverted one in the conversation. Being able to read people's personalities by picking up on minute cues that others miss requires skill, but the payoff is well worth the effort. As we get older, we often want to put the painful memories of our childhoods in the past, according to basic psychology. Consider a kid who was perpetually one of the class's weaker students. Perhaps he was the last guy chosen for the varsity football team, or never ever tried out. This individual eventually came to equate a laundry list of negative feelings with being emotionally fragile. As they grow older, this individual will try to escape this agony, according to psychology. As a practical matter, this implies that the individual is inclined to seek out pursuits that accentuate their strength rather than their weaknesses. Some people may decide to start exercising regularly or even run for a high-ranking post in the government. By realizing that people act in particular ways when they are trying to escape unpleasant emotions, we might get insight into their motivations and develop greater empathy for them. Now, let's examine an additional illustration. Imagine a little boy called Bill. Due to his parents' financial situation, he had limited access to good things during his childhood on the impoverished side of town. It hurt Bill deeply to see the privileged kids at school, all decked out in flashy cars and surrounded by worldly possessions. Bill was lucky to get anything to eat, while the other kids had a fantastic lunch. Just think of the cumulative trauma that would have resulted if this had happened to Bill in every aspect of his childhood. Unbeknownst to him, as Bill grew older and had more opportunities, escaping the misery of poverty was one of his primary life objectives. By learning the ins and outs of this, we may comprehend the motivations behind people's actions and use that knowledge to choose if we desire their presence in our lives. Now let's go to an even more potent method of reading people's personalities. Science has shown that a person's shoes reveal 90% of their personality. According to experiments conducted by researchers from the University of Kansas, one can discern around 90% of an individual's genuine character traits just by looking at their footwear. You can identify a person's age, gender, political leanings, financial level, and emotional state just by looking at their shoes. Research participants had already completed personality questionnaires. 63 students looked at images of 208 pairs of shoes that belonged to those participants. Students were given only the volunteer shoes to use as a proxy for their personality. A number of the results were not surprising, but a few were really clear. People who earn a lot of money tend to wear expensive shoes, while those who are more outgoing like to wear colorful, flamboyant shoes, according to the study. People with conscientious personalities wore shoes that weren't brand new but looked immaculate, whereas those with agreeable personalities wore shoes that were functional or practical. People with a more reserved demeanor would be seen wearing shoes that appeared uneasy, while those with a more assertive disposition would be seen wearing ankle boots. Individuals who suffer from anxiety or who are perpetually concerned about their relationships own clean, fresh shoes. Liberal thinkers were known to wear less expensive shoes like flip-flops. Now, it's not surprising that people who have trouble developing relationships and who don't care what other people think of them both own uninteresting shoes. Just to wrap things off, envision yourself able to tell a person's character from their social network profile photo alone. An AAI digital library study found that a person's profile photo on social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook might reveal a lot about them. Results showed that those with greater levels of neuroticism tended to have fewer complex and colorful photographs. A blank look, and in numerous instances, partially obscured pictures were common characteristics of these individuals. Did you know that people with neurotic personalities tend to be more pessimistic in the long run? They also experience feelings of jealousy, guilt, anxiety, and wrath more frequently than the average person. Now, the study found that extroverted people's profile pictures tended to be more colorful, feature several people, and feature the person smiling broadly at the camera. Profile photos with greater contrast and clarity were associated with more receptive users, who were also more likely to be open to new experiences. The focus of these images was squarely on the subject's face. According to the research, even the most amiable people tend to upload less than ideal self-portraits as long as they're smiling and the lighting is bright and cheery. The capacity to perceive the inner character or personality of another person in a flash provides us a huge leg up in life, and it's a skill that can help you succeed in any endeavor. You may struggle at first, but if you spend enough time in social situations, you will learn to read people like a pro. This skill may be life-saving or increase your bankroll at the poker table, depending on the circumstances. Thank you for viewing, and I hope you all had fun with the video.